Oh yeah. Five-star. LSU. I said they ain't ready for the LSU. No, they ain't ready for the LSU, huh? They ain't ready for the LSU. No, they ain't ready for the LSU. We the best in the league if you looking for talent. LSU going hard, but we beat Alabama, then we going off to Florida. Drown the Gators, everybody getting bucked when we step in the stadium. This is the LSU anthem, you know it's a hit. You don't know another rapper two-step like this. See me screaming out the window, yelling purple and gold. I'm an LSU fan, girl, you know how we roll now. Back and back it on up. Hey, 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 way down in the back.
T.A. We are live. Welcome to the Tigers Avenue Show. Monday edition following an absolute smackdown of ye old Army West Point. Appreciate what you're doing for us, fellas. Really apologize about how Saturday night went. All due respect to you, and we appreciate what y'all are going to do for this country. But for the time being, you were the latest victim of the LSU Tigers offense and defense.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, it's Army. It's not a good offense at all. But, incremental improvements here. Incremental improvements, right?
Correct.
So, I mean, we need to build on confidence and kind of boost ourselves and play with enthusiasm. I mean, the guys rolled on Saturday night, and so we should enjoy that. All right, let's see here. See some comments already in here. I cannot throw them up. Myself. Zach may can. Okay, there he goes. How's everyone doing tonight? RP, welcome to the show. Doing fantastic. Got a busy week ahead of us, but it's a good night. What's up, my brother? Sorry I missed last show. I was with my family all weekend. It's all right, Tyler. We were kind of off last week again with schedule stuff. Y'all just going to have to bear with me and Zach. Zach has added to his schedule. He has become the youth pastor, pastor there at the Central. So he has added a lot of duties to his plate. I am in my final semester of school, and it is jam-packed with a lot of things, and our schedules are crazy right now. So y'all just got to bear with us. I saw the other comment. What's up? Appreciate you joining as well. But the schedules are crazy right now, so we apologize maybe for some inconsistency. But we're going to do the best we can to keep putting out shows when we can and doing it to the best of our ability. Seems like Zach is having some Wi-Fi issues, internet issues. Maybe he'll connect his hotspot or something, and it'll be better than what it was before. But let's see. There's something else. Zach has always had youth minister look finally has the chop to match. Zach has actually been a youth pastor before this position. So, yes, he is definitely a youth minister. He has the look and he has the talents to do it. Am I wrong, Zach?
Yeah, I'd say so.
It's definitely Zach's cup of tea. If you know anything about Zach, he is very good at organizing things, events and whatnot, which is a huge part of youth ministry. He always has enthusiasm and energy with that. So yeah, he's pretty great at being a youth minister. So
I appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Can you hear me okay? My internet's being wacky on both sides tonight.
Yes, I can hear you for now. You're a little warbly looking, but we can hear you. I can see like a pixelated version of you.
All right, as long as you can hear me, we'll go with that.
Yeah,
we're trying.
We can hear you.
We're trying the hotspot tonight. We're trying the Wi-Fi. We're trying everything. So I apologize to the viewers. That's just how it goes here sometimes.
So Zach, we will obviously recap this past weekend and the game against Army. I don't know how much there is to recap, but we will do it. We'll give you a little injury update because there have been a couple injuries as of lately. I think some of it's going to work out just fine. I think we'll be okay. One of them, I really hate that he's injured, and we'll talk about it, Zach. But anyways, we'll talk about a certain specific injury. I obviously I want no player to be injured, and I never want anybody to be injured at all. But I feel like one of them kind of brought it on himself, and it shouldn't have happened. If he would have done probably what he should have done, probably wouldn't have happened. But anyways,
yeah,
we'll talk about that, and then we will, of course, give you a wrap around college football. Lots happened this weekend, Zach, and in the world of college football, I think we also need to discuss the Heisman race because it is getting very interesting for Jayden Daniels and his Heisman campaign because he is very, very, very much in the mix for the Heisman. Yep. And if he continues to be consistent, he will find himself in New York. So pretty awesome times for Jayden and the Heisman run. We will discuss that as well. Also, Zach, man, it's not started off very well, but the Astros are playing a Game 7 tonight. Y'all correct. I see some of y'all are commenting about the Game 7, or some of y'all are kind of keeping up with it. Is it just me, or does it feel like somebody scores a crap ton of runs in the first inning every single game of this series? Every game of the series. I literally cannot even settle down, and it's 3-0, like in the blink of an eye, every game. And I'm literally finishing dinner, and it's like 7:15, and the game was starting at like 7:07. And I'm like, all right, well, let me pull the game up. I pull it up. It's 3-0 Rangers, like every game, every stinking game. So, anyway, so that I feel like you can't even settle in. They're all scored. So, anyways, it looks like I'm looking at the score now. It was 3-0. The Astros have scored 2 runs, but the Rangers have added another one, so it's 4-2 right now. Obviously, I'm pulling for the Astros. I've been pulling for the Astros since Bregman got there. The same way I've pulled for the Bengals since Joe Burrow has got there. So, and Jamar Chase. I'm a Tiger through and through. I will always pull for the Tigers wherever they are. I've never really been a big NFL guy. Growing up, Dad always watched college football with us, and that's what we watched. Sundays we went to church, so we didn't watch much football. So college football has always been our love, and LSU obviously is at the center of that. So in terms of pro sports, it's always been where the LSU boys are at, and we cheer for the Saints generally speaking. Right now, I could care less about the Saints because they're kind of crappy to watch. I loved Drew Brees. Shout out to our boy, also Zach, Luke McCowan. I liked it when Luke was there. Pulled for Luke, obviously. We know Luke personally. Lived in his house for a little bit. Maybe
it was an interesting time.
Story, Zach. Yeah, maybe we'll tell that story one day. But we did indeed live in Luke McCowan's house for about 5
6 months, 4 months,
6 months, something like that. While he was playing football in Jacksonville, Florida, we were living in his house. So that's a story for another time. Maybe we can have a story time segment, Zach. Maybe we can do that. We also know Josh McCown. But anyways, so Zach, the LSU game, obviously that's our first segment here. Man, 62-0. It was a completely dominant performance. Jayden Daniels did not play a single snap in the second half, which I am perfectly fine with. Like, that is
as well.
Absolutely what you needed to do. I was happy. I was happy that they gave Garrett Nussmeier a series with the ones to open up the second half. They pulled Jaden, but they threw Garrett out there, and it was the ones and with Malik and BTJ. And man, like you get a glimpse of what Garrett can do. Garrett's going to be a really great quarterback to follow up Jaden Daniels. I'm really excited about him in the next 2 years. But I mean, there's not many people that can make the throw that Garrett made to Malik, and he put it on the money. It was a great pass. So, what were your thoughts on the game, Zach? What are your takeaways? Obviously, you take it maybe with a grain of salt, but still, you play the game, and that's what we're doing it for. You play the game to see, obviously what we can learn from. So, what are your thoughts?
Well, I fell asleep around the third quarter. Has never happened for me as an LSU fan to fall asleep during an LSU game. I think I woke back up. I had missed a touchdown, and I woke back up, and not Zai. Andre Sam had just caught his second interception when I woke back up, and then I watched the rest of the game. I did miss the Trey Holly touchdown because we flipped it over Ole Miss just for a little bit.
That as well. Yeah, I did as well.
I wanted to see what was going on in the other games that were a lot more closer. So me and Dad flipped it over for a little bit, and I missed that, but I was able to watch the highlights. Of course, I always go back and watch highlights over and over again. There's not much to say about this game. I think more of what we'll discuss will be in the second and the third segment. But what I really liked, you saw a Heisman caliber play from Daniels on the second touchdown. Gets pressure, middle, roll right, and something that you didn't really see a lot last year, right? Usually when Jaden would scramble out of the pocket, it was, all right, he's taking off. Scrambled out of the pocket, kept his eye downfield. Brian Thomas, phenomenal job of also continuing his route, getting open whenever the pocket collapsed. And Jaden threw an almost perfect ball. I wouldn't say it was perfect. It was just out of reach, but Brian Thomas he is plenty capable with his speed and with obviously his length. He was able to go up and get it. And that was obviously like, you saw that and you're like, all right, it's a wrap. Like it's over. And
he's amazing.
So it was really cool. It was really cool to get to see that. That's going to be, I think, a moment in this season when we look back. If Jaden is to be in, the Heisman race, I think that's one of the ways that we're showing Jaden those highlights and all of his great plays from this season. I think that could very easily be one of them. So. I really liked what I saw from the offense as they continue to do what they have been doing, and that's just dominate opponents. So, defensively, again, grain of salt, but I think they have done things a lot better here in this early second half of the season. Defensively, they've made some adjustments. Obviously, we know that they've carved out Harold Perkins' role. I don't know if you know this, Reagan, but they put Ziags on the short side of the field, and they put Sage Ryan on the other side. So they flipped Zai from where he was currently playing at the corner spot, and so that is also kind of done well for LSU. And so, I'm interested to see again, how this injury to Zai Alexander, how significant it is. It does seem like it could be pretty bad, which you don't need to take any more hits to the DB room, but it'll be interesting to see who steps up in his place if he is indeed gone for the Bama game. But I like what they've done with Sage Ryan and kind of solidifying him at that other corner spot. Andres looked phenomenal. I know Andre Sam has had bad moments. The entire defense has had bad moments. But I just love to continue to see the way Yeah, I just love to continue to see the way that Andre Sam plays his guts out. Right, he's got
Yeah. Yeah.
mistakes. He's not an NFL kind of defensive back running around out there, but
Right.
he he is a sure tackler, and he just plays with heart, and that paid off for him in this game. He had interceptions that were pretty easy that came his way. Almost had a third interception that he kind of bobbled on the ground and wasn't able to reel. So he had a game. Mason's had a phenomenal game as well. We heard Bryant or Carter and Blake discuss that on the AYS show, and so I wholeheartely agree with that as well. So overall, just a relaxing, non-nerve-wracking game for LSU fans this weekend.
Right.
You got another breather, which has been nice, because for the longest time, for 3 games straight, we were just sitting on the edge of our seats. All of our nails had been bitten off, and they're off of our nails. And then you get the Auburn game, and it's like, oh, finally. And then this game you knew would be that way. Now you get a week heading into Bama. So just a good way for LSU to wrap up the first half of the season heading into the bye. And a lot of hope, and for me, a lot of confidence heading into the Bama week.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, everything's ahead of you, right? You control your own destiny. So because of the fact that Ole Miss lost to Bama, and we lost to Ole Miss, if we beat Bama, we still technically control our own destiny. And the reality is, Ole Miss also has to play Georgia in Athens. So it's looking really positive for LSU right now because it feels as if they're peaking at the right time. You went through some games where you had to figure out – I think you had to figure out the identity of your defense. Like, what are we going to do with this defense? Because they just didn't have it figured out. There were so many different pieces in the secondary compared to different from last year that you had a lot to figure out, more than we thought. And then, of course, you also had the injury to J.K. Johnson, so you didn't even get to use him. So, man, there was probably a lot more to figure out than we realized. So these several games, it feels like they've worked out now kind of who they are and their roles and sticking within those roles. So it feels like they're playing more consistently and literally not like the worst defense ever.
Yeah.
And if you can be better than that, you can be better than the absolute worst defense in LSU's history. This offense can take you a long way. If you can get a couple stops for this offense is going to do a lot for you. Man, we always pump the brakes. We always pump the brakes when we go to making 2019 comparisons. But, man, it don't meet it statistically. Like, I know that for fact. But, man, it is darn close. It is the closest we've been, obviously, since 2019. And it may be the closest we get in a long time. Because it is just elite. The efficiency.
Straight 500-plus games.
Correct. And at this point in the season, which I think this was before the Army game, so let's not factor it that in the Army game. But they showed Joe Burrow's statistics of 2019 compared to Jaden's, and Jaden only had like 200 yet less yards passing. I think it was about 5 less passing touchdowns. But Jaden has over 500 yards of rushing, and Joe didn't even have 100 at this point. So it's very good. The offense is very, very, very good. So if this defense can play just sound fundamental defense, it doesn't have to be elite. It doesn't have to be the best. Fundamental defense, doing what you're supposed to do will get you the stops that you need for this offense to win a bunch of games. And so, man, it really feels like the peak right now is at the perfect time.
Yeah.
And man, the group of 5 non-conference game plus the bye week was brilliant.
Oh, yes.
Obviously,
I
you
wholeheartedly agree.
had
I was thinking about that today.
you go through a season, man, you're going to get bumps and bruises. You can give a guy like Mekhi Wingo off, who's been dealing with a little bit of a slight nagging injury. You can give him 2 weeks off. Emory Jones, who's been so consistent, this offensive line that has been so consistent, you can get, and he rolls his ankle or gets an ankle sprain in the game before Army. I'm drawing a blank on who we played. Auburn.
Auburn.
Yeah, and you can give him 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks of rest, because he injured against Auburn, so he has this whole week to rest against Army, and then this whole bye week, and then if he needs to rest even more before the Bama game, he can. So it came at the perfect time to heal up on some bumps and bruises, and man, it feels like it is the perfect time to go and play Alabama. And man, it's going to be a top 15 matchup. LSU moved into the 15 spot. Alabama bumped into number 9 overall. Here's the reality about Bama, and I'm not trying to jump ahead of myself, but Bama very clearly is a team that can make adjustments and play a lot better in the second half. And you definitely saw that against Tennessee. And this defense of Bama is going to be your toughest opponent in terms of defense all year long, by far. So it'll be the toughest challenge for this offense. It's going to be a great game. If you can go into Alabama, and knock off Tuscaloosa, you are marching your way into Atlanta, most likely marching and finding your way in Atlanta come SEC championship time. And look, if you knock off top 10 Alabama in Tuscaloosa, you win out and you go knock off Georgia, top-ranked Georgia in the SEC championship, LSU is going to find themselves in the playoffs. The SEC champion who has beaten Alabama and beaten two-time defending national champion, top-ranked Georgia, is going to make the playoffs every single time, especially when you have the top offense in the country and a Heisman contender quarterback. Storylines will put LSU in the playoffs. Like, the 2 losses will no longer matter. You have a Heisman quarterback who just led you to an SEC championship, and those 2 losses are going to be a forgotten everybody, like, you can hear the storylines now. Now, I'm not saying this is going to happen, but if it does happen, everybody's going to say, oh, early in the season, LSU didn't have the identity on their defense. They've kind of figured that out. They worked that out. This elite offense is amazing. Heisman quarterback in Jaden Daniels, they will be in the playoffs. There is no world that an SEC champion does not find themselves in the playoffs. And it will be the first time in playoff history that a 2-loss team will make it in. We found ourselves in that situation last year, but we kind of blew it at A&M. So you have to take every game seriously.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you have a real opportunity, a much better opportunity of beating Georgia this year than you did last year. I think we know far and well that Georgia is not the same team.
And LSU is better.
And LSU is offensively better than last year.
Yeah.
And in terms of Georgia, Brock Bowers may not, he's kind of a question mark. So Georgia without Brock Bowers, how's that going to look? We'll see. So everything is ahead of you. Going into the bye week, there's a lot of confidence, a lot of positivity, and man, heal up, get ready, because the biggest game of the season is coming up. And that's kind of my thoughts on this past week leading into this week. All right, Zach, there has been, and we kind of alluded to some of these already, but there has been some nicks and some bruises and bumps along the way. and we need to discuss some of those. Is there some comments that we need to get to before we dive into that? I do see some
Oh
comments
yeah,
in there.
RP said Bregman hit a home run tonight.
Game's practically
Tyler
already
said
over, though.
Yeah, Tyler said it's hard not to like Bregman.
Absolutely.
Rangers seem to be breaking it open. Adam said that Andre Sam should have had 4 interceptions. I know of the
Absolutely.
2 he had and the 1 he bobbled. I can't. Maybe I'm forgetting the 4th one.
Yeah.
Danny girl. I know my internet has been absolute crap, so y'all bear with me. She said, "Haha, Zach has always had a youth look. He finally had it's something new. I've been in youth ministry before. Just took a brief sabbatical from it, and I'm very happy and excited to be back and doing it. So it's my passion. Love it. Enjoy it. I'm crazy, wild, and extremely energetic, and that is exactly what a youth pastor is for,
That's
or at
exactly
least
what you
should be,
need,
in my
man.
opinion. Yeah, it's what you need. So, anyways,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Yeah,
Reagan, go ahead.
the Astros game looks like it's about over. Their pitchers are kind of falling apart. The Rangers have scored now 4 runs in the 4th inning. It is 8-2, and they have the bases loaded as well. They have 2 outs. There are 2 outs, so they can get out of the bases loaded. But it's a 6-run game, and they got the bases loaded, and it feels like they can't find a pitcher that can hit the strike zone. So rough time right now for the Astros. It looks like it may be the end of their season tonight. Ironically, Zach, the home team in this series has not won a single game, not one single game.
Yeah, that's weird. That's weird.
Houston lost the first 2 games to the Rangers. Houston goes to the Texas Rangers, and Dallas wins 3 straight games. Comeback last night, lose in Houston. Here they are tonight, losing in Houston again. Not a single game won by the home team. I mean, that's just
Weird.
That's nuts to me. I don't know if that's ever been done before, but that's crazy.
So, right, we need to discuss injuries.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as you mentioned, I want to back up what you said earlier. I think it was a phenomenal job to schedule how you scheduled this season. To be able to have a non-conference caliber opponent like Army, and then to have a bye week, it allows not only your guys that are nicked up and bruised and dealing with small nagging injuries, but it allows your entire team just to kind of heal from the rigors of the first half of the season. You mentioned Emory Jones. You mentioned Mekhi Wingo. Getting those guys off since the Auburn game is going to give them 21 straight days to rest up, to get fully healthy, to get to feeling right and feeling good, feeling like themselves again. And that's exactly what you need heading into what is going to be the most watched game. It's up 2 Saturdays from now. And so I think it was critical that LSU kind of had that schedule that they did. I think that's the biggest takeaway from this injury update is you have allowed yourself with the scheduling to really be able to rejuvenate this team. And so, you feel good about where you're at injury-wise. Everybody seems healthy. I mean, you think about Omar Speights, he's had time off. You think about Chris Hilton, that's had time off. Aaron Anderson has had time off. The list goes on and on and on. Just guys that small nicks and bruises here, nagging injuries, as we said, that now they're going to be able to get fully healthy. And, with the Zy Alexander situation, we haven't heard anything yet. At least I haven't seen anything yet on Twitter or anything. But it looks like it's not going to be good. I know they did x-rays. I believe it was yesterday or today. And the x-rays, I haven't seen or heard anything from the x-rays, but apparently from the mumblings going around, it doesn't look good. So you're going to have a young guy like Denver Harris or LT or one of those guys to step up and play a massive, massive role for you when you go to Bama in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I feel terrible for him, and I want to clarify that. I hate that the kid is hurt, but man, like it was a boneheaded play. It was just boneheaded, man. I hate it for him.
Yeah, it
I
was.
do. But that was not smart, dude. I mean, you are up. You are playing. You've got to realize the situation, right? You've got to realize the importance of, number one, you being available. Number two, you have to recognize what is going on in this game. It is 38-0. It is the final play of the half, and Army, who is down 38-0, is heaving a Hail Mary ball to the end zone that was never going to make it to the end zone.
Yeah.
And they lob up this pass that I could have caught. And Zy Alexander picks it off. Take a knee, bro. Take a knee. Go down and go to the half. There is no need whatsoever to attempt to run that back. You are literally going to win this game by a landslide. You don't need a pick six at the end of the half. Go down and protect yourself and go into the half healthy. Instead, man, he picks it off. He starts running around trying to take it back. And I'm going the whole time, get down, just get down. And man, he got rocked. I mean, he took a big hit. It didn't look that great. He was on the field for a long time. Brian Kelly went over to him. He immediately took his helmet off. I mean, as soon as the hit happened, he took his helmet off. Some kind of leg injury, I'm guessing. But it was very clear that he was in pain, and it didn't look good. Like, you've got to be aware of the situation in the game. If it's Bama and they lob a Hail Mary up at the halftime and you're down 3 points, sure. Yeah, run that back. 38 points up at half against a G5 opponent. Take the knee, bro. Take the knee every time. Every single time. It's that simple. I would have never thought that he would have tried to run it back, but he did. And man, it may wind up being a really, really costly injury for LSU. I mean, he's been your most consistent DB, and I'm not saying consistent as in his play has been great, but he's been on the field more than any other DB you've had.
Correct.
Right? I mean, there was Deuce at the beginning of the year, and Zy was out there as well. And then it was, they tried out Denver Harris, they tried out Ashton Stamps and LT against Ole Miss. Now they've got Sage Ryan out there, but Zy has been your consistent guy out there. And if it's like a season-ending injury, I don't know what in the world is going on with Deuce Chestnut. I don't know the story. Zach, maybe you know more than that on me. But whatever's going on, if Zy's injured for the season, homie needs to be active real quick. Brian Kelly said he's still on scholarship. He's just inactive.
Which is good.
He's gonna get activated really quick if that's season ending. Because you're literally in the second half, Jeremiah Hughes played the rest of the game. Jeremiah Hughes. Ashton Stamp sat out. He was
still with
out
injury
for the game. Denver Harris was unavailable for the game. I don't know all the storylines. I know Ashton Stamps was dealing with some kind of injury. I don't think Denver Harris was. But point being, like, you got Denver Harris, Ashton Stamps, and LT. Like, you need Deuce back if Zy's out permanently.
Yeah.
You're
really low in numbers there.
Yeah, you're really, really low in numbers, and the position's not that going that well anyways. So just a very, very could be a very costly injury, and I hate it for him. I do, but man, you gotta recognize to get out in that
I'll say
position.
this, Reagan. I think in his defense, I mean, players aren't oblivious. Like they listen to what's being said, they listen to what's being
Sure.
being pushed from the media. And I mean, obviously, hearing that, you've been picked on, that
Yeah.
the corner spot has been really bad for you this year. I think there was probably. I mean, I'm just thinking in the eyes of a young adult. A
Sure.
young. What is he? Early 20s, late teens.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he's probably thinking, man, I want something good to happen. Let me take this to the house and
Sure.
and have something good to feel about after what's been a really rough season so far. And I completely understand that mentality. But I'm 100% with you, man. There's absolutely zero reason at all to run that back and especially risk yourself getting injured. And ultimately, that's what happened. So, as you said, could be extremely costly. We'll see. Word around town is that it's not good. Potentially something that he could be out for a very long time, maybe season ending. We're not sure. We're going to find out. From what I know, it was apparently that more specifically the ankle. So we're going to find out. We're going to find out hopefully here soon. And I'm with you, Reagan. Whatever's going on with Deuce, man, y'all got to figure it out. Because you need bodies there, man. You need bodies there. And, I know Deuce didn't have a great start to the season and had really rough spots, but he has experience. He's an experienced player. And although there is some really talented guys out there, you definitely want some experience on the field in these next few games if you want to have a shot at obtaining the goals that are still in front of you.
So, Zach, with that in mind, with the reality that probably going to be out, where do you go? Who are you turning to? Obviously, I think you keep Sage, on that side of the field.
Sage has been good. Sage has been pretty good.
Oh yeah. I mean, in my opinion, Sage has been your best coverage DB all season.
I agree.
But so he needs to stay put. What direction do you go with the other? Do you test out some guys again, or is there a definite guy you go to first? And I have my opinion on it, but what's yours?
I do too. I think for me, it's you got to go back to Denver Harris. I think Denver Harris has had the most play time out of all the other DBs. The talent is definitely there. There's obviously a lot of work to be done. There's still a lot of development that needs to be done with Denver Harris, but I think the talent's there, and I think the ability to be a shutdown cover corner is there. So I think you have to go back to Denver. And, the good news is that, Alabama doesn't have great receivers. They have good receivers. Jermaine Burton's playing really well. So you would imagine that they probably put Sage Ryan on Jermaine Burton and have some help there. But I'm not super scared of Alabama's receivers outside of Burton. I mean, there's some good guys.
Bond makes me scared.
Isaiah Bond.
He's lightning fast.
Isaiah Bond's
He's the one
good.
that really worries me.
Prentice is good. I mean, they're good players, but they don't strike fear into this isn't Julio Jones, where you're like, crap, we got to figure out a way.
Devontae Smith.
Yeah. It's not like crap. We got to figure out a way to cover this guy. So I think you put Sage Ryan on Jermaine Burton, and you try to use the rest of your DBs to help. I mean, you've got some great experience on the back end that can help in Major Burns and Andre Sam. But LSU is definitely going to be limited because they're going to have to help that other DB out, and that's going to also hurt you in the front seven with different packages and different and scheming and all that stuff. You're not going to be able to probably. I mean, if you have a guy like Denver Harris, LT, Ashton Stamps, whoever. I mean, if you get Deuce reinstated, if you have one of those guys available, I mean, it's going to be tough for LSU to be able to do everything that they've been doing with Zai because you're going to have to put some help over there on that side of the ball, and that's going to take away some of your guys coming downhill like Major Burns and Andre Sam. So, Reagan, we're just going to have to wait and see how things play out here in the next couple of weeks and kind of what we hear from Brian Kelly as he lets us know certain things. But it's not a good spot for LSU to be in for sure.
Well, here's what I will say though, and I think this goes. It maybe goes without saying, but I cannot emphasize this enough. Enough in terms of injuries, Zach. Jake Flint and his staff are amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, they take phenomenal care of these guys. The injuries seem so minimal compared to previous years. And again, I don't want to throw any shade at Tommy Moffitt, but man, this strength and conditioning staff seems to always have these guys in shape, and always have like very few injuries, and it felt like we had a laundry list of injuries like every year. It felt like it was just 5-6 guys injured like every week, man, and trying to get back, and so, man, tip of the cap to Jake Flint and his staff because they really do limit the injuries. I feel like a lot.
Yeah, I agree,
and I think that is commendable. I mean, like guys like Mikhail Wingo, who've been dealing with an injury, played through it and got to this, was able to stay healthy enough to get to this break kind of, G5 non-conference bye week, 2-week gap here and say, okay, hey, take a seat for 2 weeks, get better. We'll see you against Alabama. Like that is really, really a benefit to this team in what this staff, the strength and conditioning staff has done. They've done a great job. So there is a bit of an injury update right now, just because of Emory Jones and Zai. So, we wanted to address that, but man, overall, it has been very minimal, and I've been very pleased in the first 2 years of this staff. So, anyways, are there any comments we need to get to, Zach, or do we need to take a break and then get to the comments?
Let's take a quick break, and then we come back. We will hit any comments that we need to, and then we will discuss some games that were going on around college football here in Week 8, and some scares in the top 10, and even a defeat in the top 10. So yeah, we're gonna look at all that when we get back right after this.
5-Star Hero, your intro and outro music for the Tigers Avenue show. They ain't ready for that LSU. Go check out all his other music on all the major platforms. Don't forget to follow him on Instagram at Saints Anthem and at Twitter at One Nation Doty. Don't forget to check out his Facebook page for all his Saints and LSU merchandise. Can't get any better than Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law. Her firm focuses on the needs of the elderly and maintaining their dignity throughout the process. Here for you, here for your family. Sarah Klein Stevens, attorney at law.
Right back.
All right, so RP said.
Okay. RP?
RP said he thinks Taviano is going to step up big now. We'll see. We haven't seen a whole lot of Taviano this year. But I guess that's a possibility now.
Sure.
It's definitely a possibility. When you're losing guys, and you're with in that position group, you might have to have some guys step up that you haven't seen a lot of.
For sure. Absolutely. Zach, man, it was an interesting week in college football. There were some very, very close games.
Yes.
There were a couple upsets. But, man, it was a fun week of college football. I think the headliner was Ohio State and Penn State. Obviously, Ohio State gets the win there 20-12. Zach, I don't know if you watched this game or not, but I did. And I will tell you this. Their defenses, both of them, very good defense. Offense, on the other hand, they're okay. They're good, but not great. And also, can we put some respect on BTJ and Malik Neighbors' name? Because there's all this talk about Marvin Harris. Homie's got 766 receiving and only 6 touchdowns. We got Malik Neighbors over here, who's 20-ish yards from 1,000 with 9 touchdowns. So why everybody want to talk about Marvin Harris and not to talk about what Malik's doing? And also BTJ, because BTJ's got 11 touchdowns.
0 cents.
I mean, I'm kind of like, what's the deal here? We got Marvin Harris on a whole bunch of Heisman lists. If that's the case, we should have 3 guys on the Heisman list for LSU.
I think a large part of it, Reagan, is because he's kind of carrying the team, and he doesn't have a great quarterback, to help him out. And
Sure.
I think another large part of that is, Ohio State is, Ohio State's one of the blue bloods, and they're undefeated, and so I think that probably plays a huge, huge factor in why Marvin Harrison is getting all this hype. But I agree with you, man. Like, we shouldn't base it off of what team you're playing for or what the record is, right? Like, these awards are given to an individual player for their individual effort, right? And how they affected the game, right? And what they did, how they succeeded in the season.
Yep.
And right now, there's not only Malik and Brian Thomas Jr., but there's other guys that are outdoing Marvin Harrison. And I think, probably a large part of what Marvin Harrison, the hype he is receiving is, because of last year, because of how well he played as well. So, I'm not a fan of that, Reagan. I'm just really not. I mean, you see also right now, JJ McCarthy getting so much hype as well. And I'm like, JJ McCarthy is like, he's the odds-on favorite right now to win the Heisman. He's not better than Penix. He's not better than Jane Daniels. He's not better than Bo Nix. He's not better
Dylan Gabriel
than Caleb Williams. He's not better than Dylan Gabriel. He's the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman, and he might be, maybe, in the top 7 quarterbacks in the nation, but he's not top 5.
And the stats definitely ain't there. The stats definitely ain't there.
Yeah, the stats aren't even there. Like it just
he ain't even got 2,000,
man. Like
he ain't even got 2,000, man.
He doesn't
That's
even have
crazy.
2,000. Like, and look, Reagan. Like, if you want to call me biased, because I'm an LSU fan, Penix should be better. Penix should be the odds-on favorite because he's way outdueled AJ McCarthy. Dylan Gabriel has outdueled JJ McCarthy. So, like, I don't know, man. I'm just kind of tired of it. I feel like the Heisman is just – I feel like it's just not really an individual award as much anymore like it used to be.
Yeah.
I mean, there's times when you have players that just run away with it, right?
Yeah.
And it's just very clear, like, okay, like, that's the guy. Like, that's the Heisman. Like, Joe Burrow in 2019. You had Johnny Manziel in 2012, right? Derrick Henry and in the, what was that, 2015? 2016? I can't remember.
One of those years.
Like, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray, like, you have guys that just, they run away with it, right? And it's just not close.
Yeah.
And you don't have that this year, right? You don't have that this year. And so I feel like there's because you don't have a guy that's just running away with it, they're kind of putting out these different names for bettors to vote on, in the hopes that that the odds makers can make some more money because there isn't a clear favorite, right? There's not somebody that you can put all the money on and you're like, well, I know I'm going to make money off this guy because, he's killing it. Right. So it's frustrating to me, Reagan, because and I'll say it not just for Jaden Daniels, but for Michael Penix. Like Jaden Daniels and Michael Penix should be 1A and 1B. Like, and that should be it. Like that should be it.
Yeah, and I think
there shouldn't be. It should be 1A, 1B, and then 3 is like a little ways down, right?
Yeah, I agree.
But I think they're trying to build some hype. I think they're trying to build some storyline with the he's the quarterback of the undefeated Michigan Wolverines, the number 2 team in the country, right? Marvin Harrison, he's the best player on their team, and for the undefeated Ohio State Buckeye. Like that's what they're trying to do right now, right? And you even see now Jalen Milroe's starting to get some hype in the Heisman. He's got the same amount of believe it or not, he's got the same amount of odds as Caleb Williams, I believe. Blake mentioned on the show.
Gosh,
bro, like Jalen Milroe should not even be in the conversation.
Caleb has plummeted.
Neither one of them should be in the conversation. Period. Period. At all.
Right.
So it's been frustrating, Reagan, for me. But I guess we need to get back on track here with around college football. So you mentioned the Penn State Ohio State game. I agree with you. To me, that was a boring game. Like it's just boring. The defense
it
was
went
good,
how I thought
but
it would.
it was just boring to me.
I think what it told us is that Michigan's the clear Big Ten favorite.
Yeah,
that's what
essentially. Washington had a scare. Penix had a bad day.
Bad game.
What was it? 2 interceptions.
2 interceptions and a fumble. Did not record a touchdown. Just bad day. And that's the reason. That's the reason McCarthy. That's what I was about to say. The Heisman is such a week by week. Like college football is like such a captured in the moment type of sport. Everybody's captured in the moment, and so Penix has one bad game, and they're like, "Oh no, somebody else."
JJ McCarthy.
Somebody else.
Yeah,
right?
And you know what? Jaden's going to have his moment here in 2 Saturdays. He's going to have his moment to shine in front of a national audience.
Yep.
And, if he goes out and he balls out and he, throws for 3 touchdowns, rushes for 2, he throws for over 300 yards, and he's near 100 yards rushing, like, he's going to become the odds-on favorite. To if they beat Bama, like he is going to become the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman. That's just how it is. Yeah. But it's gonna have to be proven with consistency the rest of the season. He's been extremely consistent this entire season, but it's going to have to continue for the rest of the season after Bama, if that is the case with Jaden Daniels. So, anyways, Reagan, what are some other games that
Washington was close?
Yeah,
Washington was close. I stayed up at late night Pac-12. I stayed up and watched it because I was interested in seeing what Michael Penix would do. So Utah knocks off USC for like the 4th straight year.
Hey, I said there was a lot of USC hype even following the era, Caleb Williams for Heisman, and they're undefeated, and there was all these USC fans in LSU's mentions talking about how bad, how Caleb deserves the Heisman and Jaden doesn't. Well, look what's going on now, buddy. I said you were playing 5 extremely, really qualified opponents that are all ranked. And I said they're going to lose multiple games. And not only have they done that, they did it on the first 2. Like you didn't even get a chance to maybe get a win and kind of show face. You've already lost the first 2 of the challenging games. Now you're going to get a kind of easy game. I think they have an easy game here next. I want to say, I can't remember exactly, but then I think that you end the season with some really tough. Reagan, maybe you can look up that schedule for me real quick. I want to say they have a easier game this upcoming week, or maybe the following week. I don't know.
Yeah, they'll beat Cal, but then they're going to get killed by Washington the next week.
Exactly, like
and
USC
Oregon, and then UCLA.
Yeah, USC easily could be 8-4.
They are going to be 8-4.
I think they're going to be 8-4, if not 7-5, depending on how that UCLA game goes. So the hype around Caleb Williams and the hype around USC dead.
Yeah, it's gone down the drain. A couple other close games. Oklahoma had a scare against UCF. Literally
Yep.
had to stop a 2-point conversion with a minute left in the fourth quarter. Bama comes storming back after down 20-7.5. Missouri continues to look like a phenomenal team. That win in Columbia is looking better and better for LSU.
Yep. Exactly.
Texas had a scare against Houston. They pulled away. The biggest upset of the day was by far unranked Virginia knocking off North Carolina at North Carolina.
Yep.
So those were your best games of the weekend. Duke and Florida State was closer than the final score alluded to. And if Riley Leonard would have played that game, I don't think Florida State makes it out there. Makes it out of there with a W. I mean, it was very close. A lot closer than what the final score alludes to. But those were like your best games of the week. I think the thing that impressed me the most and it caught my attention the most was the second half play of Alabama. That leading into the game, which obviously my mind is on that game, of course, naturally as an LSU fan. But that we went to half, it was 20-7, and I was like, this game ain't over.
No.
And shoot, I mean, they did not allow Tennessee to score a single point. Jalen Milroe and them started balling out. And so, we go to Tuscaloosa in a week. A halftime lead is not safe by any means. No. So we'll definitely have to be ready for that. And Ole Miss and Auburn was a very close game.
Yep.
So, which Auburn seems to play Ole Miss close every year, regardless of how good they are. And it was at Auburn, in the Plains. So, yeah.
You also had an extremely boring. I'm thankful that I did not watch it. Arkansas and State game.
Oh my gosh,
dude! How did Arkansas lose, man? Dude, Arkansas should have won that game, dude. Yeah, but you're better than State. You're better than State.
Are they?
I think so. They had a better offense, and then it's like their offense just didn't even show up against State. It was bad. It was bad.
They've already fired the offense coordinator, which needed to be done. So
yep. Let's get to some of these comments, Reagan. I'm seeing Ryan and Danny going back and forth. So let me go ahead and get to some of these comments real quick. Ryan said, I'm thinking that this bye week will prove to be refreshing. Yes, very much so. Danny Girl said, I really couldn't tell if the defense are just that good or if their offense are just that bad in the Michigan versus Ohio State game. I think that was a little bit of both, to be honest with you.
Penn State versus Ohio State, but yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Ohio State versus Penn State. Yep. Ryan said Marvin Harrison would not be talked about if it wouldn't be for his name. His dad made Marvin. That's why. Danny Girl said Caleb Williams won with losses. Bryce Young won with losses. The notion that our losses are costing him is not necessarily the case. 100% agree. 100% agree. But it feels like that is the case right now for LSU quarterback Jaden Daniels. Like, why is he not the odds-on favorite to win the Heisman, right? The excuse has been, well, he's got 2 losses, right? That's a terrible excuse because of what Bryce Young and Caleb Williams did in their seasons playing, winning the Heisman. So I 100% agree with you on that, Danny Girl. Ryan also said Miro was suspended 1 game. That should be an automatic disqualification. We got Reagan back in here for winning the Heisman. Ryan, I don't think you have to worry about it. He's not going to win the Heisman. He's just not going to win the Heisman. Danny Girl said, I just hope the pressure of the game, the eyes on him, does not make JD revert to some old habits in playing it too safe. I don't think so, honestly. I think JD has been extremely consistent. I think you're a 5th-year quarterback. Moment never phases him, it seems like. So I don't think he'll be bothered by it. It'll depend on how well the Alabama defense plays against our offensive line. O'Dingle also said, finally, USC talk dies. Sick of the USC Riley love affair from the national media. Yeah, I agree with you there.
No kidding.
Ryan said, I'd rather be facing a Bama team like this than a Bama team coming off of a loss. Yeah, I agree, because I was like, I want Bama to win. I don't want Tennessee to win. Because the if you win the game against Bama in 2 weeks, the win looks a lot better if Bama had beaten Tennessee. Also, B, if they had lost to Tennessee, they're going to be extremely motivated to win the next game against you in Tuscaloosa. So I wanted Bama to win. Now, if Bama had lost to Tennessee, would I be upset? No, I'd be like, hey, Bama lost. It's like, all right, awesome. So I wouldn't have been completely upset that Bama had lost, but overall, I mean, I wanted Bama to win the game because I felt like it was best for LSU, if that makes any sense. So, all right, guys, it's been an awesome time. I think Reagan had to hop off. I don't know if y'all heard baby Luca screaming in the background. So I'm sure he had to hop off and handle Luca, and that's perfectly fine. We appreciate y'all joining us. Appreciate y'all working with us. As y'all know, we've been having extreme technical difficulties. It seems like for the past month with my internet and with Reagan's laptop crashing on him. With our schedules going absolutely berserk, with me taking a new position, and with Reagan wrapping up his semester in school. So it's been a crazy hectic schedule for both of us, as well as the technical difficulties. We apologize for all the inconvenience that has brought, but seems like we're going to be back on track. We'll be back with y'all on Friday to discuss all things LSU. And begin to preview more of the LSU Bama game. So we'll be back on Friday. Looking forward to it. Thank y'all again. 5-Star Hero, take us out. Peace.